Normally, it's one of my favorite things to do at any given year, and that is look forward rather than backward. But of course, it's a little bit more difficult this year because Michigan's coming off of a national championship. But nonetheless, we are going to look forward, and we're going to do that on this episode where we I do this every year, and I love it. 10 bold predictions for the 2024 season. Let's talk about it on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Wednesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. I am currently not in Michigan. It is currently Monday, actually, for me, but I'm on vacation. So if there's breaking news or anything like that, we'll talk about it next week. But today we are going to get into an article I have yet to write, but am going to be releasing on Wednesday as part of like a 16 volume list that are coming out on Wolverines Wire. But we're going to get to the one that I'm kind of waiting to write last, and that's my 10 bold predictions. So let's go 1 through 10. We'll start with the first 4 right now. So I've already written what my actual bold predictions are going to be, but I have not elaborated on them. And it's funny because I looked at one of them and I'm like, I think that maybe is a kind of a stupid one. But again, they're bold predictions, right? They're not supposed to be like 10 predictions that'll 100% come true. That's what fun is that? I mean, some of them will. But anyway, number 1, the 2024 quarterback will come from within. I know a lot of people were looking at, and this has become the new thing in college football of, I don't like what I have, or, I can go and get something better. Ohio State thinks it's doing that, going from Kyle McCord to Will Howard, for instance. It's for all of this multi-year Jim Harbaugh, not his own quarterback, not a quarterback he recruited. Even when he inherited Wilton Speight, it was like, for some reason, still was like, oh, it's not even a quarterback that he recruited, all that kind of stuff. But obviously the last quarterback worked out pretty good. The last couple, Cade McNamara helps you win a Big Ten. And J.J. McCarthy obviously helped you win a national championship and 2 Big Ten titles. So with that in mind, I don't think Michigan's going to necessarily look outside. I think that despite us not hearing much from or seeing much from, I feel like it's going to be either Alex Orji or Jayden Denegal. And Jayden Denegal was getting a lot of bull prep hype. That's based off of what I saw. I didn't hear it personally. But I seemed to see some other people apparently had some conversations at the media days during the bowl games, and we're getting a lot of Jayden Denegal hype. I'm still really intrigued by Alex Orji because I just still feel like what Jalen Milroe is exactly what Alex Orji also can be. He's got a cannon arm, tons of athleticism, can extend plays. He's got to be able to hone in some things. And from what Jim Harbaugh was saying after he was hired with the Chargers, and I think it was on the Rich Eisen show, he was talking about how both Alex Orji and Jayden Denegal, the day after JJ had declared for the draft, they're both in there in Glick, working out, trying to get some reps in terms of throwing with receivers and everything like that. I think that it's going to come from within. The call is coming from inside the house. Okay. Sure. There could be a spring portal transfer, someone that's just, you can't refuse, a ringer of so to speak, but I like those 2 guys. And I think it's going to be one of them. Certainly it could also be Davis Warren. It could be Jaden Davis. Jaden Davis, I feel like you want to give a year or 2 before you thrust him in. Ideally, Michigan operates like an old school football program the way it used to. And even when it does NIL, does not just try to it's harder, right? Because NIL people can transfer and everything like that. Unlike before, but it starts to become hey, you wait your turn, but when you get your turn, you're going to go to the NFL and make a lot of money. And when you get your turn, you're going to make a lot of money in Ann Arbor as well. Number 2, and this is one where I was like, really? Why did I think this? The rushing production will increase from 2023. Now, Blake Corum still did really good. Now, keep in mind, this is 15 games. This is through 15 games, so this is not 13 or whatever. But Blake Corum had 1,245 yards. Donovan Edwards had 497. Khalil Mullings had 222. That's your running back production. In 2022, Blake Corum in 12 games had 1,463. Donovan in 11 had 961. CJ Stokes had 273. In 2021, Hassan Haskins had 1,327 in 14 games. Blake Corum had 952 in 12. Donovan Edwards had 174. So 3,001 rushing yards in 14 games in 2021, 3,345 in 14 in 2022, and then 2,536 in 2023. So what I am predicting that is going to go up because I think Donovan will have things figured out and will play more like kind of what we're accustomed to seeing. And then whether it's Khalil Mullings, Benjamin Hall, Cole Cabana, Jordan Marshall, all of the above, I feel like just the running back room health is a little bit stronger than it's been from top to bottom. Because in 2021, yes, you had a 3-headed monster. 2022, you had a 2-headed monster. 2023, you had a 2-headed monster. So I think that it's going to be, you're going to see a lot more variation. And I think in terms of running style, ability, all that kind of stuff. And I just think that it's going to kind of take off. And I think Donovan will have figured it out between the ears. And I think that whoever else is the running back is also going to just take a big step forward. Obviously, someone's got to get the 258 carries that Blake Corum had last year, right? And I think that they've got the bodies to do it. This feels like a really, really good situation at the moment, okay? So that is number 2. Number 3, the defense, assuming that it will be running a similar scheme, will be the top in the Big Ten. That's a harder prediction than you'd think. And obviously it also requires no transfers, right? Now that's obviously a big concern. Sorry, as I said in Monday episode, I know it's Wednesday now for you. I had to caffeinate, and that's what we're doing here. The Ohio State returns a lot, right? We put out the returning production thing from ESPN earlier today, and Michigan is the second to worst in the Big Ten, and they say like 47-ish% of the defense. I mean, yeah, you're losing some guys, but I mean, everyone that is, assuming everyone stays, everyone that will be on defense, save for the nickelback in the corner opposite Will Johnson, will have been someone who has started a game one way or the other, right? I mean, Ernest Hausman was a starter at Nebraska, didn't really start at Michigan, but I mean, he played starters minutes some games too. So to me, they still have the experience, and if they're running the same scheme, they're going to continue to be able to play fast. Now, that said, that is a bold prediction because Ohio State got a lot better defensively and returns a boatload from last year. But they also, I mean, and Michigan also is going to have the trouble, and this is where it becomes a bold prediction. Michigan's going to face some tougher offenses this year than it did before because it's going to play Oregon, it's going to play USC, and Fresno State's no slouch. Arkansas State is no slouch. It's going to play some tougher offenses at times, but I still think that they're going to end up being the best in the Big Ten, despite Rutgers and Nebraska and one other one have like top 10 returning production in their defenses. I still think that the Michigan talent on defense and the cohesiveness is going to do a lot. Last one for this segment, Samaj Morgan will become a national star. I mean, he's a regional star already. But I think now that Michigan's going to need playmakers on offense, I think it's just going to be the perfect time for Samaj to take this thing and absolutely run with it. Yeah, I think usually you see receivers get a lot better from year 1 to year 2. Usually that's why you don't see a lot of year 1 wide receivers. And I think Samaj is going to be a guy of, get it to him on screens, get it to him downfield, get him to him underneath, all that stuff. They need him to step forward, and I think that he is going to answer the call. And I think that with his personality and his playability, I think that suddenly he's going to burst on the national stage as be a guy that people talk about. I think that he'll probably end up leading in receiving touchdowns and might challenge for rushing touchdowns if they get it to him on end arounds and things of that nature. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got 6 more bold predictions coming up, and we're going to get to those here in just a moment. But before we do that, you know what? If you were down in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl, think about what an extra $100 can do. You could buy yourself a great dinner. You could go, hit up one of the shops, put it all on red. But there's so many different things that you could do. Could be towards your own personal bail money. But here's the thing. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all of the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket using the code Vegas100. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. There are so many things about Gametime that are absolutely phenomenal that a lot of others don't have. They've got last-minute tickets, flash deals, easy to find and buy tickets for every event in your area. Doesn't really matter what it is. You can see the seat that you're going to be sitting in, what that view is in advance, and they've got the lowest price guarantee, which is, I think, the coolest part of it, because you just know you're going to get the lowest price. I mean, that and the seat view. I always say the seat view. But nonetheless, Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what you're going to be looking at when you are at the event. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out, and you can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Right now, all Gametime users get $100 off a big game ticket with the code Vegas100. Terms apply. Just download the Gametime app. Use the code Vegas100 for $100 off of a big game ticket. And yeah, download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we've got more coming up. 3 of our 10 bold predictions. Work these out with me vocally before I write them down. I don't want to change some. I'm not loving these. I'm kidding. It's a lot easier when you kind of know a little bit more about where the team is, but we have to come up with content while we're on vacation. That's just how it works. Number 5, Donovan Edwards will be one of the top 4 receivers for Michigan. That's kind of a scary proposition, but I just think that they're going to be smart with Don because they need to be. When it comes to, he was the number 4 receiver last year for Michigan, which kind of seems weird. It doesn't seem like I remember him catching the ball a ton. He had 30 catches for 249 yards, tied for the 249 yards with A.J. Barner. The year before, he was 6th with 18 for 200. And the year before that, he was 5th. He got 170 yards in one game, but he had 20 catches for 265. I very well could see Donovan Edwards go from 30 catches to 50 catches. Now, granted, Rowan Wilson had 48 on the season, but I think that number is going to go up, but especially because they don't have, when you look at all these receivers, Roman Wilson gone, Colston Loveland returns, Cornelius Johnson gone, Donovan returns, A.J. Barner gone, Samaj returns, Tyler Morris returns, Blake Corum gone, Darius Clemens gone, Frederick Moore very well could be a guy who really steps up, but I could see Donovan really being, I guess, saying top 4 when he was top 4 last year, maybe not the biggest deal, but I think that he is going to take a big step forward. I think they're going to try to get him the ball a lot more through the air than they did this past year. Number 6, Michigan will beat at least one of the Big Ten newcomers. Now, they face 3, and of course, they face the harder 3. And I'm going to actually eliminate Washington from contention there because who knows how Washington is going to be, right? Washington right now, it lost everything. Lost their whole team and their coaches. It's kind of wild. Jed Fisher's a great coach, and I love Jed, but, still. So when I say that, when they beat one of the Big Ten newcomers, we're talking USC and Oregon. I'm going to give them Washington, is what I'm saying. USC and Oregon. Now, obviously, if I had to choose right now, I'd say USC. USC loses Caleb Williams, while Danton Lynn comes in to fix the defense. Hasn't really been a great defense for USC. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. It's a home game for Michigan. Oregon has Dylan Gabriel at quarterback. I mean, they seem to blow a lot of big games. They also have to come to the big house. The long trip mid-season to cross the country. But if I was to pick one of the two, I would definitely pick USC. But I think Michigan will beat one of the two teams, which leads us to number 7 and our final one of this segment. Apparently, we're going to short segment because I'm just rushing right through it. Michigan will beat one of Texas and Ohio State. Now, I know everyone would prefer the latter, and maybe it will be. I mean, Ohio State's clearly loading up to try. I mean, they might lose Bill O'Brien already, which is kind of hilarious. But Texas, which is certainly, I mean, they lose that star defensive tackle. They lose Xavier Worthy, but they return Quinn Ewers. They've still got a lot of talent. They do come to the big house. It is week 2. I think Texas will be more kind of ready to go in week 2 than Michigan. And even though I think I predicted Michigan to upset Texas in my official predictions, or 2 early predictions, which comes out, let's see, I can tell you what day that comes out. Thursday, tomorrow. Ohio, I could see it as a situation kind of like what Ohio State used to do. They look kind of bad early in the season, week 2, and then by the time of the game, it's like, oh, yeah, of course they won. But I think Michigan will win one or the other. I don't think they'll win both. Could be wrong. Hope to be wrong. But that's where I stand with those. All right, we're going to continue on. I've got 3 more. So we're going to get to those here in just a moment. But first, happy Super Bowl week to all who celebrate from FanDuel. That's America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, except for this year while I'll be traveling, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. Because here's the thing, FanDuel's got same game parlays. They've got the parlay hub. There's all these great things that you can use. I had won $200 using it before I bet it all on blackjack and lost it in 3 hands. And I was trying to double or triple my money real quick. Anyway, that's just what it is. But here's the thing, FanDuel has got so many ways for you to end the season on a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers, you can join today and get $200 in bonus bets. That's just so long as your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we got 3 more to get to here on this Wednesday episode. 10 bold predictions for the 2024 season. 2 early bold predictions. That's where we're at. Number 8, recruiting will look more like early Harbaugh than late. And I understand Michigan has impediments because you've got NIL and there have been a lot of inducements which is not supposed to happen, right? But I think that Sherrone Moore is just going to be a lot more aggressive. Jim Harbaugh, he was really aggressive in the beginning, right? The sleepovers, the climbing trees, which were both one thing, going to classes, all that kind of stuff. But I think you're going to see a much more active Sherrone Moore like that. And I think that he's got a big enough name and Michigan obviously winning a national championship for all of the screeching from rival fans. I highly doubt that it affects recruits that much, right? So it's now that we know who the coaching staff is going to be incumbent upon them to go out there and turn some heads. I think that you're going to start seeing a few more 5 stars potentially come despite NIL. And I think that you'll see classes kind of inch up around top 5, maybe just outside the top 5, at least here relatively soon. But I think that in this year in particular, you're going to start seeing, and it's hard because 2025 is already on the clock. I think you're going to see a class that looks very similar to like how Marcus Freeman and his impact with Notre Dame. Obviously, Michigan's got to get its NIL deal together before that to work. But I think that they've got some of the right people in. They're going to expand recruiting. They're expand the department. I think it's going to, between 2025 and 2026, look like usually what you see from a program that's got a new head coach. You get a little bit of a bump, right? So I think that's what's going to happen. Number 9. Anything that Michigan absolutely needs, they're going to manage to get in the spring portal. That's really not a bold prediction. That's just what's going to happen. Right? They didn't get to take advantage of the portal being open because of a mixture of still having a season much longer than any other team outside of Washington, and then coaching uncertainty. So I've talked to some people inside of the building there, and they're like, yeah, hands are kind of tied behind our backs until spring portal. But yeah, so that's really, that's, it's pretty accurate. It's not really a bold prediction. And they at this moment, they don't necessarily need much, right? I think they'll feel like they're fine at quarterback. They obviously, I think, are going to want to add another cornerback, but maybe one of those guys is the next man up that you're waiting on, a Miles Pollard, a Cody Jones, a Jair Hill, right? I mean, one of those guys could certainly take a big step up. We got years 2 and 3 for some of those guys. So I think that you could see that. DJ Waller, obviously, being a big one. But whatever Michigan feels like it needs, and honestly, in a lot of ways, it doesn't feel like it needs a ton, except for maybe wide receiver and corner. It feels like, okay, and I can see them maybe wanting to go getting another tight end that's a little bit more established, and continue to let some of the other guys kind of rise up. I think that they'll do good in the portal in the spring session when things open up again. And that brings us to number 10. I don't think Michigan's going to have this mass exodus. I understand there's a lot of fear mongering out there. I have heard some high 6, low 7 figure numbers are being thrown out to star players. That, from what I believe is actually happening, I was told from a source and then a colleague that's being thrown out there. There's certainly some tampering going on. In the end, I think that Michigan will manage to keep most of the team together. And I understand that we still don't even know what the coaching staff is as of when I'm talking right now, Monday. Maybe by the time this airs, we'll know exactly what the coaching staff is. But I think that come spring and everything, I think that everyone will feel relatively comfortable. There will still be some attrition. There always is. But this fear of a mass exodus of stars, I don't see it. Could be wrong. Right? With anything, I can be wrong. I should always note that. No matter what I say, I can be wrong. And I'm not afraid to admit that. I could be very wrong. But I think that this band is going to stick together. I know that there's a lot of frustrations with NIL and all of that. I think they'll get enough figured out. They've raised a lot in terms of the Those Who Stay fund. I think that'll satiate enough of those guys who are sticking around because they didn't have a lot of people that announced that they were coming back. They had a couple, right? Donovan, Rod Moore, Makari Page. That's it, right? So they can spend some of that on maybe a Kenneth Grant or a Mason Graham and be like, guys, we really, really need you to stick around. So they'll find a way. I truly believe that. All right, that's going to do it for this episode here on Wednesday. We are going to be back on Thursday, and we're going to start the real ranking palooza here, list of palooza, where we're doing Thursday. We're going to do offense, the best quarterback, the best running back, best wide receiver, and tight ends, that 10 best of each that Michigan's had. We're going to have to kind of speed through that. And then we're going to do defense on Friday. So actually, we're going to push one of those over to we'll probably push tight end onto Friday. But quarterback, wide receiver, running back, the best that Michigan's had in the Jim Harbaugh era. And then we're going to do, for some reason, I didn't do defensive tackle, but whatever, edge, cornerback, and tight end on Friday. So look forward to that. All right, we'll talk to you again then. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Peace.